We're back on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. The Paris Olympic Games have just wrapped up yesterday, and we're here to look forward a little too far in the future to LA in 2028. But welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Back to the Dugout. I'm your host, Toby Schulman, and today we've got a bit of a different episode. I don't think we could say we'll be doing this much in the future, particularly because the Olympics aren't for another 4 years. But we're going to be talking about what I think the roster is going to look like in LA in the next 4 years, and just outline some of the players that I think are going to get the nods at their respective positions. A couple things to note before we do get into it. This isn't going to be something where a lot of the best players now are going to be playing for Team USA. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of different faces emerge, and some of the younger guys that you see in the league now are going to be headlining the league in 2028. So that's more likely who's going to be on the team in the LA Olympic Games. But, just to briefly touch on Paris, I thought it was an amazing Olympics. Didn't watch nearly enough of what I should, but the U.S. put on an absolute show, as they always do. Taking home, I believe, tied for the first amount of golds with China. I think they both had 40. But by far, the U.S. cleared in the most amount of medals, as we should be doing for sure. But now we can look towards LA in 2028, and we see a bunch of these cool events in the Paris Games, like skateboarding, breakdancing. I was watching a little bit like kayaking, and the marathon was even a lot of fun to watch. Just all these fun events that you don't get to see more than just once every 4 years. And we saw the clinic that the American basketball team put on, the Avengers, as LeBron James described them. That was really a show to just put on the screen and just watch every single time they took the court. They were just an incredible team to watch, and it made me thought about what the United States could put on the baseball field to kind of have the same effect, because baseball is going to be very competitive given that it is back in the LA 2028 Olympics. We're going to see teams like the DR and Mexico, Venezuela, Cuba, Japan, all these other teams across the world put together teams that are going to be really competitive and are going to definitely push the boundaries for the United States and are going to give them a really good test. We'll obviously have another World Baseball Classic before then, but I think this is going to be a very, very interesting Olympic tournament. Now, the season obviously is in the middle of the Olympics, so there's been talk about what the MLB could do to kind of compensate for these guys that want to represent the United States in the Olympics. I think it would be only smart to start the season a couple weeks before, end it a couple weeks later, give them a couple weeks to practice together, and then obviously the 2 weeks in the Olympics. So whether or not, people want a month-long hiatus of the MLB season to see these guys compete is up in the air still. We have no idea what is going to be the case when that time comes. Hopefully 4 years from now, the commissioner can work something out. And, we've seen players like Bryce Harper talk about how much they'd love to compete. And, looking at the 2021 Tokyo roster, it was really there are some names, and I'm going to go through the roster, but it's nowhere near what a product for the United States that we should be putting out for what is called America's pastime in the game of baseball. So looking at the 2021 roster, I mean, you see Nick Allen, Tyler Austin, who's not even in the league anymore, but Shane Baz, prospect pitcher. Tristan Casas is probably the most notable name on this roster for now. Todd Frazier was obviously on that team, was probably the headlining name at the time. Other guys like Scott Kazmir, Nick Martinez, David Robertson, Joe Ryan, Jamie Westbrook, who is just struggling to get any type of playing time in the majors, but a AAA bouncing player. And then now Twin starter Simeon Woods Richardson. So not too many players there that I would say are very notable, especially when you're throwing USA on the front of your jersey, and it needs to be something different. It needs to be the best players in the United States representing the team at the Olympics, because that's what the Olympics are supposed to be. It's supposed to be the pinnacle of athletics, and these are the guys that I just think deserve it. And by the time we get to 2028, I think that it'll be a bit more clear to everybody, and hopefully this is a bit of an accurate, way too early prediction, but I think a lot of these guys will be seeing time on the field in the Olympics if that's the case. So I think it's only right to start off with just the starting lineup, the starting nine out there, the 8 fielders and the DH. I have a 30-man roster like the World Baseball Classic. I'm pretty sure I kept it down to 30. If it's 31, I'm sorry about that, but I believe it's kept down to a 30-man roster here, and we're going to start it off with the catching position. So I've got 9 starters. Obviously, I said 8 fielders and a DH. Then I've got 4 backup infielders, a catcher, first baseman, and a couple middle infielders. And then I have 2 backup outfielders and a 5-man pitching rotation and a 8-man bullpen. So I think that is a pretty solid number for the Olympics. I don't know if we're taking a full 40-man roster, but yeah, I think it's a solid number. 30 players, I think that's a solid number there. But getting right into the positions and the position players at the catching spot, I think it is only right that we put Adley Rutschman here from the Baltimore Orioles, a Portland, Oregon made name. Current career stats, Adley in 3 seasons, he's batting 268 with a 359 on base, 436 slug, and a 795 OPS. 126 OPS plus for Adley with 50 home runs, 82 doubles, and a 12.7 WAR currently through his young career with the Orioles. He should be the standout best catcher in baseball by 2028. His numbers have been amazing since entering the majors, and he just offers every single tool that the United States is going to need behind the plate. He's got leadership, and given he'll probably be around 30 years old at the Olympics, I think that this is a wonderful person to put behind the plate. I actually have these graphics for you guys. I forgot about that. I'm going to pull these up so you guys can see more of their career stats, age, hometown, everything. You could verify that they are actually American-born players. But let me just throw this on the screen for you guys. All right, there we go. So yeah, I think Adley's just the player that you need behind the plate right now. When you're thinking about the 2028 Olympics, like I said, switch hitter, gives you every single tool, a great arm behind the plate, great pop time, great framer as well. But Adley really just is that solid all-around catcher that you just need for the Olympics, an exciting player. Like, I'm just going to beat a dead horse with this saying that it's the pinnacle of athletics. He is the best at this position, I think, already. I know his stats don't say that this season, but I think it's hard to look at another catcher in the league and think that they are not and think that they are better than Adley Rutschman. I mean, this guy, he hits at an elite clip. He legs out extra base hits. He is a very good defender. And, I think you could complement him very well with somebody like Austin Wells or another catcher if you have a 3-man tandem. But I think the backup that I have is very suitable for this. But Adley, he might be a 6-time All-Star by the time the Olympics roll around again, with an accolade like a World Series ring possibly there. So he's going to be tested with leadership countless times from now until the 2028 games. And I think that this is a perfect spot for Adley Rutschman behind the plate in the Olympics. I think that the story kind of just writes itself there. I think he is a player that you undeniably need to have behind the plate to lead your team to every game. He's young, he's an athlete, and that is just exactly what this team needs. I think he's going to be a star in the Olympics if given the chance. Now at third base, there's a lot of guys you could go here. I think that there are a lot of players who have the tools to play third base in the Olympics, but I think if you asked a lot of the current third basemen, especially among the younger American-born guys, they are going to agree with you that Austin Riley's the name here that you just got to go with. He's simply one of the best defenders in baseball right now at that hot corner, especially signed through 2032 on his 10-year, $212 million deal there. Currently, his stats in 6 seasons: 273 average, 339 on base for a 503 slug and an 842 OPS. OPS plus rounding out to a 123. So he's been well beyond league average his entire career. In Atlanta, 151 home runs and a 20.8 career WAR so far. 21 it rounds up to there on Baseball Reference. But I mean, there's nothing that I can't say about Austin Riley that has probably not been said yet. He'll be 31 by the time the Olympics roll around again, and he should be just in the midst of his prime. He's got 4 years left on that deal in that time, I believe, and the current 2-time All-Star should have a lot more time to accumulate a lot more accolades by then. You see the Silver Sluggers, the 2021 World Series. He could get another one. He's another guy who could be like a 6-time All-Star, will probably be a 4-time Silver Slugger by then if I had to guess. But he's just that textbook third baseman that you need to have man that hot corner, and I'm sure he'll be that in the World Baseball Classic. So why not throw him there? The DeSoto Central High graduate. Shout out Blaze Jordan as well in the Red Sox system. That high school just produces pro baseball players. But Yeah, he's just the type of guy you need at that hot corner. He's a seasoned player. By then, he'll be just a crazy good seasoned veteran at that third base position. And I think that it would be the smartest decision to have him there. You could plug some other guys in the third base spot, but I think when you get to 4 years down the road, Austin Riley is going to be the best option that you have. He's probably the best option that you have now. And I think that's not going to change in the next 4 years. But moving on to the shortstop position, and I think this one's another obvious one. There are a lot of names again that you could stick here. Uh, we will have a couple middle infielders that are going to be able to play the shortstop position as well, but I doubt this player will need to receive any rest in the Olympics at all. I think this is going to be the most pivotal player in the Olympics if given the chance. And I think that is Royals shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. out of Colleyville, Texas. This guy is just electric to watch. We talk about Adley Rutschman having all the tools you need behind the plate for the Olympics, and I think Bobby Witt Jr. just has every tool you need as an athlete to be in the Olympics, period. This guy has, in 3 seasons, he's hitting for a near 300 clip, 332 on base, 502 slug for a 127 OPS plus, 72 home runs, 92 doubles, 28 triples, 104 stolen bases for a 12.9 WAR. His numbers are unreal. This is a guy who, by the time we get to the Olympics, he'll be 25 years old. And will he be 25 years old? No. He'll be 28 years old. Sorry, I'm looking at his draft year on Baseball Reference there. Yeah, he'll be 28, but he'll be a fresh 28. He'll probably be just at the start of his prime here, and the numbers he's going to be putting up are going to be ridiculous. He's already leading the league right now in like hits, total bases, batting average, runs, games played. I mean, he's just doing it all for the Royals, who are fighting for an AL wildcard spot. And I mean, what else would you want out of your shortstop? He could be an amazing leadoff guy. He could be an amazing bottom of the lineup hitter. He could be an amazing top of the lineup hitter. Anywhere the manager wants to plug and play Bobby Witt Jr., he can. He can play multiple places in the field as well, but you need him at shortstop. His versatility on defense, his arm, his speed, it's something you just need to have on this roster. He was on the World Baseball Classic roster. I believe that was his rookie year. But now he's looking like a seasoned player just with not even 3 full seasons in the MLB yet. You can only imagine what that's going to look like in 2028. He's, again, just got all the tools you need. He's just that flashy brand of U.S. baseball that I think they're going to try and push into the 2028 Olympics. And hopefully this is a guy that is one of the front pieces of it. Trying to think of who like a USA baseball or basketball comparison would be, but there's really not one right now. I mean, he'll be 28 years old. Like I said, he'll be a seasoned player in the league, and I think he's going to be incredible there. He's not going to lose any athleticism in that time. He is just going to be at the probably peak of his game by the time the LA games roll around, and it's going to be special to watch. I'm really excited to see Bobby Witt Jr. gets a shot there. And at second base, I put a player who I think could play at that shortstop position, and I think will get some reps there. Given all of this obviously happens in the Olympics, these guys are actually able to play. And I think that is Orioles' new young superstar shortstop, Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar's a young guy, 23 years old. He'll be freshly 27 when the Olympics roll back around. But in his short 3 seasons so far for the Baltimore Orioles, 268 average, 347 on base, a 508 slug, and an 855 OPS for a 141 OPS plus, 61 home runs, 58 doubles, 25 stolen bases, 14.3 career WAR, 14.4 on Baseball Reference right there, as you can see. But he's just an incredible hitter right now. He's shown to have developed so nicely in the offseason even more. His powers come through very much in 2024. You see him putting up power numbers to the likes of guys like Ohtani and Judge. He's right up there. Obviously not doing the same, but he is up there for sure. He's got great hit tools, not only to hit for power, but he can hit and just leg out extra base hits like Adley Rutschman. Great speed on the base pass, a great glove there. So I don't worry about throwing him in at second base at all. I think a middle infield of him and Bobby Witt Jr. would be just a perfect duo there. And I think when you have a fresh middle infield that is, in their late 20s and are starting to hit their primes, I think that is going to pay dividends for the U.S. in the Olympics. I think this is simply just putting the most athleticism and the best tools combined at the middle infield positions. And you have a guy like Gunnar Henderson who hits the ball so hard, some of the highest exit velocity rate in the league. He is just a guy that you really need to put in the lineup, and that, in my opinion, is the only spot you could plug him into. He's just somebody who needs to be a starter, whether or not that's in the first base position. I don't think so. I think second base is simply where you get him at. I don't think Simeon's going to be really much of an option. I think he's going to be at that tail end of the contract and is just going to be not very good compared to some of the other options that you could have there at the second base position. You're going to have some guy probably playing out of position once you get to that spot. But again, one of the more competitive positions. He's going to be one of the best middle infielders in the game come 2028. He's somebody that needs to be in that roster for sure, because I don't think anybody here would argue that Gunnar would be the starting shortstop if Bobby Witt Jr. just simply didn't play short. I think he would have that position locked down for himself. But moving on to first base, because this one is kind of the whole reason why I did this type of themed episode today. This player was one of the guys who said that he would be open to kind of adjusting the length of the season to play in the 2028 Olympics, and that is Philadelphia Phillies first baseman Bryce Harper. This is just one of those LeBron James, Kevin Durant type players, Steph Curry type players to have on your roster, and we'll see multiple of those guys. You obviously can't just have a roster of young guys and fresh, exciting players who are going to be hitting their primes. You need a guy who's been in not only high leverage situations, but you need a guy who has just done it over the course of his whole career. You know that you put a guy at the highest level and he is going to produce for you. That's all Bryce Harper has done. He's produced at the highest level in his career. And you look at his accolades there from Baseball Reference: a 2-time MVP, Rookie of the Year, 8-time All-Star, will undoubtedly be like not a 13, but he'll be like a 12-time All-Star by the time the Olympics roll around again. Home run derby champ in the past, 3-time Silver Slugger and NLCS MVP. Undoubtedly will have more accolades to achieve in that short 4-year period, and he'll be towards the end of that contract there. Obviously, it's signed through 2031, so he'll be on the way out, definitely in Philly by the time the Olympics roll around, but he should still be producing at the top of his game like he has been doing for his whole career. His defense, it should hold up fine at first base. He's been a very solid defender there, and it's that leadership. He'll be a sure Hall of Famer by the time the Olympics roll around, and I mean, this Olympic gold medal, it could be something that pushes him even closer to Cooperstown. So, we'll see. Right now in his 13 seasons, hitting .281 with a .389 on base, .523 slug, 153 OPS plus, 332 on the home runs, and 961 RBIs, over 1,600 hits, and an almost 50 career WAR. So that a lot of people say that Hall of Fame threshold is 50 WAR. He'll probably have more than that in the next 2 weeks. So we'll see what Bryce Harper is able to do if he gets into the Olympic Games. At the time, he'll be in his mid-30s and at the tail end of that massive deal. So we'll see what kind of numbers he's putting up at the end of his career there. But I'm sure he'll get the nod to Team USA if given the opportunity. Now, moving on to the outfield, this was a bit more of a tricky decision for me because there are a lot of ways to go with this. There are a lot of great outfielders, and there are a lot of great young outfielders who are going to be really, really good in the 2028 season. And one guy that I think is going to just only improve all facets of his game coming into 2028 is going to be Guardians left fielder Steven Kwan. I think this guy is just absolutely incredible right now. Hits for an elite contact clip, 292 average, 362 on base, a 406 slug with a 117 OPS plus in his career so far in 3 seasons, 458 hits, 75 doubles, and 49 stolen bases. So it's not crazy to think that, by the time the Olympics roll around, Kwan will have over 1,000 hits. And I think he'll be just even more of an elite bat than we consider him now. I think he's really surged onto the scene this year into the mainstream, earning his first All-Star nod. And, he's got the 2-time Gold Gloves there. So, I mean, the defense speaks for itself. But he'll be 31 years old, near 31 years old, and he'll be in the prime of his career, hopefully hitting at that elite contact clip still. They'll need a guy who can just get on base because you're going to have all these guys, like I mentioned, like Bobby Witt, Gunnar Henderson, A couple names in the future that I'm going to mention on this team: Bryce Harper, um, Adley Rutschman, just guys who are hitting for elite power. And I mean, Quan, he doesn't hit for no power. He's hitting for more power this season. And you can only imagine that'll develop even more as time goes on. But, by the 2028 games, he should be an even stronger bat and should just be that perfect leadoff bat that we need in not the World Baseball Classic, but I'm sure he'll play in the 2028 Olympic Games. I think this is a guy who's going to man that corner outfield position very, very well. And not only that, he's kind of a name that is not necessarily as flashy as the other guys. You could definitely sub out Stephen Kwan with whatever other corner outfielder you want, really get creative with the outfield. But I think this is a no-brainer. I think he's just such a well-polished bat that really represents just how good Team USA is at just flat-out hitting the ball. We're going to see teams like have guys like Luis Ariz who can hit for contact. The DR is going to have somebody as well, and it's just going to be more of a matter of do the U.S. go fully for guys who hit for just straight power and can hit for those big home runs, but can still hit for contact, or do they want to go for a guy who knows his role, who knows that contact role at the plate? I think Stephen Kwan really represents that kind of Devin Booker mentality for a guy on this 2028 roster. Because this is a star-packed roster, and I think Stephen Kwan is going to be one of those names that you talk about even more going into 2028. He's definitely going to have a much bigger, I guess, following among his name in the next 4 years because of what he's doing this season. He's a name that you should keep an eye on right now, and you should expect to see on an Olympic roster if given the opportunity. So moving on to the center field position. This one, it's really unlikely, honestly. Like, it is really unlikely. I don't see this happening, really, but I think if it's a possibility, this should be the first way Team USA tries to go. And if you're not trying to go after Angels center fielder Mike Trout, I don't know what you're doing. This guy would literally get the Captain America title. This is Team USA's LeBron James. This is a guy who, no matter his health, his age, should be on the roster because he is just elevating his game to a new height every single time he represents the country. We saw what he did in the World Baseball Classic there. Granted, he did strike out against Shohei Ohtani to end that tournament. I'm sure he would like redemption at it. He'll be playing out his massive $426.5 million contract, as you guys can see there on the Baseball Reference page. But if he stays in Anaheim, this could potentially be the only chance he has to get any sort of ring. I don't see the Angels making a World Series push by then, and I think he knows that as well. So we'll see where Trout lands, but I think he's still going to be in Anaheim, so there's nothing really else that needs to be said. His health will always be a question mark, and if he's healthy, he will certainly get the nod. I don't think there's any arguing that Mike Trout will get the nod there for the USA center field position. I think there are a bunch of names who you could throw in there, but I don't think there's anybody more deserving. In his 14 seasons, Mike Trout has hit for a near 300 clip. They're at 299 with a 410 on base, 581 slug, and 991 OPS. Unreal OPS plus of 173, 378 home runs, 1,648 hits, and an 86 career WAR. This guy, by the time he's going to have already punched his ticket to Cooperstown, he already has, and hopefully he maybe has a playoff series under his belt within that time, where he can kind of get this sort of high leverage game Mike Trout back. Again, his health is just going to be a huge question mark, but seeing him play at the level that he did for the World Baseball Classic, I think that just kind of made everybody smile a little bit, and I think the world would smile to see Mike Trout competing at the highest level again and competing in the 2028 Olympic Games. But moving on to the right fielder, I think this is as easy of a guess as anybody could probably guess for this roster. This is a guy who simply just hits better than anybody when it comes to hitting for power. He is undoubtedly the best right-handed hitter in the league right now and probably of all time. He is the AL single-season home run leader, and it is Yankees captain Aaron Judge. There's nothing you could tell me to say that he shouldn't be manning down this right field spot in the Olympics. Uh, Currently 9 seasons, 287 average, 404 on base, a 599 slug for an OPS of just over 1,000 and a 170 OPS plus, almost 300 home runs, 677 RBIs, almost 1,000 hits, and a 49 career WAR. So looking at his stats right now, he'll have well over, I'm guessing, 1,500 hits by the time this Olympics rolls around. WAR wise, probably be way higher than that as well, in the 60s or the 70s. Uh, Career average will be maybe 300 by then. You see he's hitting 328 this season, but he's really just continues to put up numbers that nobody can really understand, like, are real. This guy's just in a league of his own, and he will continue to be in a league of his own until the next Olympics. Through the next Olympics, he's signed through 2031, so he'll be playing out the tail end of that contract there, and he is 32 years old currently, so he'll be 36 when the Olympics roll around. So he'll be the older piece to this team, definitely one of the veteran roles, like we kind of talked about with LeBron, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry. That'll be Judge, Trout, and Harper in this Olympics if this all pans out the way that I have it panning out. But I mean, he'll be should be around 500 home runs, or not around 500 home runs. He could very well be, but who knows where he'll be by then. But I think this team just needs to see Judge hitting like 500-foot bombs in in the Olympics off of like European pitchers or something. He'll put on a show like he always does, and I think that would be incredible. He'll be honestly a 10-time All-Star by then. We'll have multiple Silver Sluggers more to his name, and a lot more accolades to go for sure. But moving on to the last hitter in the starting lineup for this Team USA roster, this is somebody that I think maybe not a lot of people would expect me to put, but in terms of DH, I think there are not a lot of people that stand out from the United States side, and I think this guy is going to be having a really underrated prime and could be a big piece of a possible franchise movement, and that is Brent Rooker. He wasn't moved this trade deadline, so I doubt he's going to be moved at all. I think this is a guy who is going to really have a bit of a franchise role in the move to Vegas. And by this time, that move should already have taken place, if not taking place that year. I think Rooker is one of the better younger designated hitters who's just currently hitting at a more elite level this season. As you can see, his number hitting 291 with 29 home runs there, but he's hitting for a career 251 or a 252 batting average, as it says on Baseball Reference there, with a 132 OPS plus, nearly 70 career home runs. This is a guy who's just going to have a bit of a role player impact. I think having a DH who just knows his role of just simply hit the ball, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think that a lot of the United States DHs at least are kind of aging. Stanton's not going to have a place there, and Rooker's young. He's 29 years old. He'll be nearing 34, I believe. Yeah, he'll be nearing 34 by then. My math isn't good at all, but he'll be nearing 34 by the Olympics, and he'll be a very improved bat by then as well. He'll be a seasoned designated hitter. Not only that, you could plug him into the corner outfield as well. So this just gives you another right-handed depth piece in the lineup. But I think once the year 2028 rolls around, Rooker will be looked at as one of the more respected power bats for doing what he's done the last couple seasons more consistently. I think he's going to really develop nicer as time goes on, and he's going to hit his prime in his kind of early 30s there and be a really solid bat that Team USA can utilize. I think that is a name to for sure keep an eye out for. But that brings us to the end of the starting nine. I've got 4 backup infielders, 2 backup outfielders, a 5-man rotation, and an 8-man bullpen to get through. So we've got half an hour left on the show, and I'm going to take a quick break here, a few minutes, and then we'll get back into the roster, and that should take us to the end of the show. But I will see you guys in a few minutes. We're back on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Sorry for no music there. We're changing up the music a little bit. If you noticed at the start of the show, just going the no copyright route because not trying to get any strikes or anything for that matter. Just going the no copyright route now to be safe. But we talked about the starting nine for this Team USA in the Olympics on the first half of Back to the Dugout here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. But we got to talk about now who the reserves are and who the pitchers are. And before we get into the pitchers, I just wanted to say that, this is a bit of a harder decision than just naming out the top, nine players at their positions for this roster. You got to think about longevity, who's looking good right now, who's young, who's going to be good in the future. I just like I just personally, I don't really think a lot of these pitchers may be in this rotation, but they could be. But we'll see. We got to get into the reserves first. But I think the pitchers are definitely something that could be just totally up in the air. And you could see some of these guys, you could see none of these guys. But I think a good majority of them will be in the Olympics, obviously, if given the chance. But just a little disclaimer before getting into that. But let's get into the backup reserves for the field before we get into the pitching staff. Like I said, I have four backup infielders, a catcher, first baseman, a middle infielder, two middle infielders. So let's get into the catcher first. But we'll get back to get my graphics ready for you guys here. But the catcher, I think, is one of the most important spots for a backup. I think, this is a spot where you can't have a guy who's just a backup. You need somebody who is someone who you could start, like realistically start every single game in the Olympics. You need a leader. You need someone who you can plug into that catching spot and make it feel like you didn't even lose really a bat there. And I think that that person is really Dodgers catcher Will Smith. I think that this guy is just going to be not better than Adley Rutschman, which is why he's not going to be given this role of starter. But I think, currently age 29, he'll be 34, or I think, well, he'll be 33. Yeah, I told you guys my math was bad. So if I speak with an age that is not right, uh, take it with a grain of salt, obviously. But Will Smith is just that kind of leader you need behind the plate. He's a solid right-handed catcher and a solid bench piece bat in that, but plays great defense as well. Uh, Great development through the Dodgers system. It is now one of the best catchers in the league. Two-time All-Star. He should be like 3 or 4 easily, but we'll see what his All-Star numbers look over there. Excuse me, but I think that this is just the type of catcher you need. He's going to be older than Adley Rutschman at the time, and he is going to have that veteran catching leadership that you need there if you are Team USA. These guys are going to be going up against Salvador Perez, a lot of other catchers who just have that veteran leadership. You think having a guy who won a World Series behind the plate is not a bad option to have there on your reserves. Currently through his career, as you can see, he is a 258 career hitter with over 500 hits, 106 home runs, OPS plus 124. So he is really, really solid there behind the plate. And I think his numbers are just slightly worse than Adley Rutschman's. And I think when, you factor in the 4 years that are coming in, I think it just makes sense to have Will Smith come off the bench. I don't think Real Muto is really here anymore. I mentioned Austin Wells. I think that's a great piece to have as a third catcher if you have like a 40-man roster for this. I know the World Baseball Classic roster at least utilized 3 catchers, but I think only 2 will be necessary given the athletic nature of Adley Rutschman. I don't think the Olympics is going to be too taxing on him. But moving on to the first base reserve, and this was my preseason MVP take this season that just has not aged well at all. It really it's sad, but he's having a down year after the best year of his career, but I think he's still going to be playing at an elite level that he should be backing up Bryce Harper in the first base corner, and that's Braves' Matt Olson. He's 30 years old right now. He'll be 34 by the time the Olympics roll around again. He has a 30.7 career WAR there, as you guys can see, a career 253 average. He should have like 1,400 hits by the time the Olympics roll around again. Well over 350 home runs, I'd be guessing as well. This is just kind of me taking into effect that he might have or continue to have down seasons. I hope that's not the case because I really do like Matt Olson. I think this is a really, really good left-handed bench bat as well. A bat who can hit for so much power. You see him hitting 50 home run seasons. This is a guy who just really needs to be on the roster, just couldn't fit in a starting spot. And I don't think he's really a starter on this team, at all. I think he fits the role perfectly of a bench bat. He's a really powerful threat that if a team throws in a right-hander and there's a righty up, they throw in a right-hander, come at them with Matt Olson. I think that's a great pick. He could DH. I think this is just a solid bat that is going to be still one of the best bats in the league. Obviously, you don't get Freddie Freeman because he's Canadian, so I think Matt Olson is a really, really solid option here. Current career stats, we talked about it already. That OPS plus is 133. He deserves it. He really deserves the nod. He's an amazing bat. Just having a bit of a down season, but I'm sure in the next few years he's going to pick it up even more. You can see he's signed for that long contract with Atlanta, and he'll be playing that out through the end of 2029. So, this is just a perfect kind of first base backup, in my opinion. I don't think it gets much better than this. I think him and Bryce Harper manning that, it just takes all the stress away defensively and offensively from the first base position, a position that's going to be very overlooked, especially, guys like Vinny Pasquantino really interest me as well for this team. I think by the time 2028 rolls around, he's going to be another bat that is going to be kind of talked about in that upper echelon of first baseman. I think even looking in the future more to the Royals when they have Jack Caglione up in probably the next couple seasons, he's going to be a name that maybe we'll be putting up production that will warrant him getting an Olympic call up. But I think the only way he sees the field is if they go the route of going with these lower level players like they did in 2021. Really hope that doesn't happen again though. But moving on to the middle infield substitutes, and I really like this one, honestly. I think that this is kind of your veteran bat on the bench, your veteran kind of five-tool leader who you could still plug and play in a lot of different areas, but just is, compared to the rest of the lineup, too old to really have a starting spot. And that pains me to say because I love this player a lot, and it's Trey Turner from the Philadelphia Phillies, a guy I watched come up through the Syracuse Chiefs organization with the Washington Nationals. This is a guy who just has everything that Team USA needs, not to mention the success he had in the World Baseball Classic. This guy, while Mike Trout was considered Captain America, this guy was really the saving grace of Team USA last year. Or not last, yeah, I mean last year. Yeah, he was, yeah. That feels like so much longer than a year ago, by the way, for the World Baseball Classic. But, I mean, Trey Turner was electric in that, and I think he really just earned himself a spot not only on that next World Baseball Classic team, but I think he'll put up similar production then, and he'll get a nod to the Olympics if given the chance. Obviously, if the season is widened or whatever. But Turner is just, that peak type of player you need. The speed on the base pass, the defense, the hit tool, a guy who could hit for a sneaky power, but also can hit a sharp ground ball down the line and leg it out for a triple. The electric slides, the pop-up slides that he does, I know that's a fan favorite for everybody as well. It just kind of gets people oohing and ahhing at the Olympics. I think that would be a great addition. Obviously, you see the numbers there to the right of the screen. 35.4 WAR with a 296 career average. This guy, by the time the Olympics rolls around, he could be on the cusp of the Hall of Fame conversation. We see that he is currently signed through, I believe that says 2033. So, he's not going to be near really done. I think he'll have a few more seasons left, but he'll be 35 years old. So I just don't see him getting a starting spot here. But I think this would be a really fun player to have on the team. A guy who just really rises to the occasion when it comes to Team USA and Team USA baseball. I just really think this is a guy who needs to be on the team, just for bench leadership, straight up, and middle infield leadership. There's so many young guys there. I think Turner's just a perfect person who won't clash with anyone else. I think he's just like I said, that five-tool player that guys like Bobby Witt and Gunnar Henderson will just look up to. And while I have Trey Turner here, the 35, who at the time will be 35, and on the older side, you can't just fill your bench with guys who are older. You need guys who are young and guys who could come off and provide a spark. You need a guy who also, given you give MLB players the Olympic experience, you need guys who can really just sit, watch, learn, and carry the future of Team USA. For me, it's, it might be recency bias, but I think this is a really good way to go. This to me is an Anthony Edwards type of addition to the team. This is a Tyrese Halliburton type of addition to the team, and it's Orioles' current second baseman Jackson Holliday, the old top prospect in baseball. He is simply somebody who I think is by 2028 going to be one of the best middle infielders in the game. You see, since getting called up, looking at his career numbers, I'm not even going to go over them. It's been such a short career. Obviously, there's no use in talking about it. But looking at his age, he's 20 years old right now. He's going to be like 23 when the Olympics happen. He's for sure going to have that Anthony Edwards role, the guy who you can pinch hit and he can give you big hits. Whether it's like I keep saying with like Trey Turner and Bobby Witt, extra base hits that he legs out, or just massive home runs. You never know what you're going to get with Jackson Holliday. This is a great player, a guy who is learning second base right now in the major leagues, but also can play a great shortstop. This is a guy you could plug and play a lot of different places. And I think that is just what Team USA needs. And then you could have him develop, because he will most likely be the future of that Team USA infield. And he's somebody that you just need to have learn from guys like Bobby Witt Jr., continue to learn from Gunnar Henderson. I think this is just a really solid pick if you're building Team USA. He's one of the best prospects right now, been one of the best hitters in baseball the last couple of weeks since getting called up again, and he just looks a lot more improved, a lot more mature. And by the time he's 23 years old and it rolls around, I mean, it's going to be a real scary sight to see Jackson Holliday in that batter's box. He's going to get stronger. The bat speed is going to get faster. The exit velos are going to improve. The ball is going to go further off the bat. It's going to be a sight to see. And it's going to be kind of that message to the Olympics that, these are the guys that are killing the game right now, that are at the top. But this is what we got going on. And these are who we're going to be bringing to 2032. Guys who are young right now, who really are better than a majority of your players already, but yet they just don't have a place on our team, because that's how good Team USA is. That's the kind of mentality they need to be putting out to the rest of the world for the Olympics. And I think when you put Jackson Holliday in the reserves here, that's exactly what it does. And getting him some chances to represent his country early would be awesome. I think he's going to be a fan favorite again. I believe he already is. So that does it for the backup infielders. There's a lot of names you could go with, but I think that those names make the most sense. You could leave Trey Turner out, but I think with everything he's done for Team USA, I think that's I think that's kind of unreasonable to do. I think that's unnecessary, and I think he really just is someone that would benefit from being on the team, and I think everybody else would benefit from his leadership as well. So moving on to the outfield reserves. I went multiple different directions. I originally had Brian Reynolds on here. Again, 40-man roster. He definitely makes the cut for me for just being a switch hitter and a versatile outfielder. But I think, this name often gets lost in the weeds because he just hasn't played much this season. But he was an MVP candidate when he was healthy earlier in the season, and that is Astros Kyle Tucker. Tucker is really just a special fielder out there in the outfield, and a special left-handed bat. This guy is hitting for a current career average of 272 with 121 home runs, as you can see on the Baseball Reference page there, almost 22 WAR as well. This is just a guy who is going to be young still. He's going to be 31 by the time the next Olympics roll around. And he's going to be a bat that you really need off of the bench there. Another bat who is probably on the come up of filling in those corner outfield roles when guys like Aaron Judge are inevitably out of the league, as well as, if Mike Trout is done, you can maybe play Tucker in center field, but he's a right fielder. You could move Judge to center field and have Kyle Tucker take over and give Mike Trout a DH day or something if his health isn't there, which I'm sure there's going to be something health-wise, like I've already talked about with Mike Trout. But Tucker's too good of a bat to leave off of this USA roster. I think that's just kind of mutually agreed upon. He's just one of the better bats when healthy, and I think that when he's really in the middle of his prime here at age 31, it's going to be a no-brainer to put him on the team. And another no-brainer for me, you have a young infielder in Jackson Holiday there. You need a young outfielder as well. You need a guy who you can just plug in there and he's going to rise to the occasion. This is a guy who has really surprised all season, has really developed well through the major leagues rather than the minor leagues, and has just really came into his own as an outfielder. And I think that he is going to be so much better by the time the Olympics roll around. And that is Padres rookie Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill's on a tear right now. He's like the best hitter in baseball the last couple of weeks. You see his age; he's 21 years old. Just a couple months older than me, actually. He's going to be like a fresh 25-year-old by the time the Olympics roll around. And this is another bat who you can just plug him in and he'll look like everybody else around him. The All-Star game, he didn't look like he was a starstruck kid at all. He got an infield hit and was laughing towards the dugout. Just kind of seemed like one of the guys there. This is another Anthony Edwards type of player, another Tyrese Halliburton type of player. Those guys are Jackson Merrill and Jackson Holiday for this Team USA team in 2028. I think that more likely it is that Jackson Merrill earns himself a spot on this team than Jackson Holiday does, actually, just because of how good Merrill has been. You see his numbers there, 291 on the average, and he's just been an absolute blessing to that Padres team. I think he will be an extremely versatile piece for this Team USA in the future. And that's another player you could even probably plug into the infield, because I believe he was an infield prospect before getting transitioned into the outfield and making his big league call up. So Jackson Merrill there rounds out the backup reserves for the field. And now we're going into the 5-man rotation. And I think the guy to headline this, it's only right. You can probably guess who it is. It is the most likely NL Rookie of the Year, possible NL Cy Young, Paul Skeens. I think, this is just something that makes sense. There was someone else that I thought could really take it for the ace role. But I think that Paul Skeens is he's just that guy. He's only think about how good he's going to be if he's able to stay healthy through 2028. Sorry, he's just that good. Not really much I need to say about Skeens. I think he starts the MLB All-Star game in his rookie season. He's going to be starting game one of the Olympics, the gold medal match, whatever you need. Paul Skeens is going to be able to get it done there. Already 115 Ks on his career. He's unreal. He'll be 26. If he stays healthy, man, he's going to be undoubtedly the Team USA starting pitcher, the ace starting pitcher there. But the other guy who I kind of thought could take that ace role, I think he'll be really on his way to do so, is a guy who I kind of thought maybe could get moved in the trade deadline, and that was Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers, the best left-handed pitcher in baseball by far right now. He's going to be unreal if he gets the opportunity in the Olympics. Nasty pitch mix, just a guy who strikes out a ton of batters. I think you put him against like Team Canada or something, you're going to get a complete game shutout. This is really just far and away the best lefty in the game right now, and you need All right, are we good? All right, we just cut out for a second there. I think we're good, though. I'm going to double check and just make sure. Let me see if I can get Scooble back on here. All right. I don't know what that was. I'm sorry, everybody. Yeah, I don't know. That's happened a couple times to me in the recent future. I have no idea what's going on. Sometimes we encounter a little bit of technical difficulties here. So that just took a couple minutes away, but I'm sorry about that, everybody. Nothing I can really do to prevent that. on my end here. We're just going to keep on plugging away and getting through these players here. But Scooble, he's just what we need. I'm not sure how much of my kind of breakdown on school being in the rotation got cut off or how much of it was actually getting through to you guys, but I think it's pretty obvious School should be on this roster here. But moving on to my next pick, and for this third man in the rotation, I think this is a solid pick right here. Corbin Burns. I think he needs to be on this roster. At the time, he's going to be 33 years old, so he's going to be kind of still punching at that level he is right now. This is a guy who throws nasty stuff. I don't think the rest of the world is ready for what he can throw in terms of sinker, cutter, all of that stuff. He's going to give you the whole kitchen sink. So that's Corbin Burns, and a guy I'm actually really excited for to see whether or not he gets a nod to this roster. It'd be Hunter Green because he managed to make the All-Star team this year. The velo's there. It's really just dependent on whether or not he can keep his command developed. I think that if he's erratic, it's take away anything because they're not going to put pitchers out there who aren't going to throw strikes. This guy, he throws harder than most, and I think that's something you need to have representing the team in the Olympics. So I think just for that reason alone,